Look, from this point forward, if you ask me to come to your protest, I'm going to be armed. I would prefer that everybody else at the protest is armed as well. That'll reduce me from being an individual target to being part of a show of force. And I get it. It's like, hey, bro, we want this to be nonviolent. It will be. There is nothing inherently violent about carrying a rifle on your back. There is an implied threat of violence, which y'all need to get comfortable with that implied threat, because that's the only thing that makes your protest effective. If you're going to show up between the hours of when the cops say you're allowed to be there and when the cops say you got to leave, that's not a protest. That's a goddamn state-approved get-together. In 2025, in this surveillance state, under this administration, with current historical context, if someone is asking you to protest unarmed, they either A, have no intention of creating any meaningful discomfort with the protest, or they have the intention and they're doing you a disservice, because I know that any protest that actually has meaningful discomfort, that the governor is going to come put an end to that. That somebody is going to send in the cops, the state troopers, their own personal army. They're going to send in people with guns and sticks, and they're going to come make you stop using your First Amendment right. That is, unless you have enough people there exercising their second, where there's an implied amount of force that will make them think twice. But what if the cops point guns at us? Point them back. Here's what they're never going to tell you, conservative man. Liberals can't get shit done without you. You are the most important part to any protest anywhere in the country. That without a bunch of us willing to show up and say, no, bro, we're going to come occupy this plant and we're going to be here until we decide to leave. Unless y'all actually want to pop this off. Y'all remember the Bundy Ranch? I think it was back in 2013, 2014. Ultimately, there was a rancher, Cliven Bundy. The federal government said that he owed them a bunch of money because his cows had been out grazing on land that the federal government had never tried to actually fence off, prevent animals from getting onto. But it was only like 200 or 300 Americans that went down to that ranch and lined up on the bridge and pointed guns back at the feds. And you know what happened? Nothing. The feds went home. Not because they couldn't have eliminated every single one of us sitting on that bridge. There's a recognition they could, but some of them are going to die. And I'm going to repeat it because I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is easy to find someone willing to kill for a paycheck. It is way more difficult to find someone willing to die for one. Again, not a single shot was fired. It was simply the implied threat of force that was enough to get the federal government to back off of their position. And that's going to be the case anywhere that you go. If you get 300 well-armed rednecks to go protect any protest, that protest is going to be allowed to exist as long as they want, so long as you have the supply lines to be able to keep those people supplied. That is the ultimate goal of any protest. If you're not, I'm going to be here until y'all hear me and until some shit gets done. You're at the place now where if you're having protests without the intention of something being done, what are we doing? You have fascism. You have people trying to dismantle democracy. You have a foreign policy of actual genocide. You have the militarization of the police in D.C. You have what is essentially a fascist takeover. If you ain't willing to come protest armed right now, you're not willing to try to do anything about this. This is the whole problem with demonizing all of the January 6ers. Look, I hate that y'all were misled by a fucking New York real estate billionaire pedophile. It hurts me to my soul knowing that y'all's energy was co-opted, that the only group of people actually willing to do the work, to put in the training, to be effective with their weapons, to be able to have the willingness to go stand where politicians are with their weapons, making them uncomfortable. I hate that y'all were misled by this meandering, insipid Cheeto. It fucking hurts me. But we need that energy. Y'all are the most vital part to us getting anything done in this motherfucker. That's what the liberal will never admit to you, anti-authority conservative man, that without you, all of their flowery ideals don't mean shit. Until you're willing to defend your rights with the second, you don't actually have any. At least the implied threat of force. Y'all won't even show up and pretend like you're willing to fight. Why would I ever take you seriously if you come out and actively admit, violence isn't really on the table for us, with people who have openly admitted we're going to do violence on you the moment that we get the word. They haven't reckoned their own individual place within capitalism and imperialism. They haven't looked back and saw that the way that the United States did to the Black Panthers or any other militant group that showed up saying that, no, we're going to change shit right now. We're going to create social change, whether or not legal change comes at all. That's going to be on us. We are going to protect our society. Fred Hampton stood in front of a courtroom and said, why do they fuck with the Panthers? Because the Panthers had the nerve to say that the moment that a cop steps from outside the bounds from legality into illegality will blow their motherfucking brains out. And what's the problem if they harassing the people? And what's the problem with that? And that's the question everybody needs to be asking themselves. The moment that a cop steps outside the bounds from legality into illegality, ICE, all of you fucking DC police, the moment that the cops step outside the bounds from legality to illegality, you should blow their motherfucking brains out. If they harassing the people. And what's the problem with that? Look, if you can't say the shit out loud, how can you expect people to act upon it? If you can't impress upon people the seriousness of the situation, How in the fuck could you ever expect them to protest with any meaningful fucking energy? Understanding the stakes that come along with their position. You set people up for failure. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to be right there holding guns next to you. I'm going to be right there protecting everybody the same way that you are. And if you're not willing to protect the people, then fucking go home and let the people willing to do the work do the work. We'll make a protest that actually fucking matters, that actually changes something. And y'all can be grateful, y'all cannot. But I promise you, without us, without good old boys willing to come point them back at them, all of this shit's a show. Do not show up to any protest unarmed until you start getting what the fuck you want. 2025, 2026, I don't care. We can do this till 2030. Shit's about to start changing or shit's about to get real fucking uncomfortable. As always, bro, I appreciate y'all taking the time. Much love. Y'all stay safe out there. Have a good one.